The left will never stop their agenda to take over America. You are their enemy, and they will not negotiate. Prepare yourselves. Welcome to the Blue Shark Show with your host, Mike Lang.
It seems like this GISD book fiasco will never end. It's been almost a year. We still have porn books and books that aren't supposed to be in the school library there. And Nate, you even found some, looks like satanic cartoons in, I guess, Granbury ISD.
Yeah, I got on again the other day and looked at the card catalog, just typed in the word Satan. And you can find all this on GISD's website. You just go in, select library, what campus you want. And I typed in the word Satan, and one of the first things to pop up was this satanic cartoon porn. And if you'd have told me 10 years ago here in Granbury ISD that we would have satanic cartoon porn in our library, I'd have thought you were full of it. But, we've seen that this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg.
Well, first of all, Nate, I would like to tell you that you have to be wrong, because I've read online that there are certain members of our school board that say that we don't have any of that in there. So you have to be mistaken. But, the reality is, before we're going to fix anything, GISD, you have to admit you have a problem, okay? They keep telling everybody publicly, we don't have a problem. We don't have a problem. Well, you know what? It doesn't take more than scratching the surface a little bit to figure out you still have a major problem.
Still, after all this time that we spoke about. And Nate, we'll put a picture up of what, this preview is and Devilman, Grimmore, whatever you call it. And there's a picture up here, but you blacked out one of the bars on there, right?
Yeah, I had to censor it because if I would have posted that picture to Facebook, they would have probably flagged it for nudity. And I don't need to go to Facebook jail.
No, but you can have it in your school libraries, right?
Yeah, you can have it in your school library.
There's no pornographic material in school libraries.
Listen,
right?
Nobody wants that stuff in our school district.
Nobody wants it, by golly. We've told you that a million times.
Yeah, except the trustees.
Yeah.
And of course, we also already had a blue ribbon commission that looked over this. So I don't know what you're whining about.
Well, I'll tell you. The district and we've been saying this for years, we've been beating this idea into their heads is, hey, y'all have to be more proactive. I shouldn't have to get online and start searching for very basic keywords in their card catalog system to find satanic cartoon porn or this, radical jihadi journey of the jihadists. Understand that not all jihadis use violence and terrorism. It's like, it's not just one thing. Yeah, the porn's bad, but there's a lot of other stuff in there too.
It's another book in there that you found, The Journey of Jihadists Inside Muslim Militancy. And it's another book that's in there that's, you can talk about age appropriateness and things like that, but they don't want you to search. They don't want you to have any knowledge. It's a government-run school. You do what you do, Nate, but how dare you come in and tell us how to do our job as administration or as a board of trustees, which is, I don't know why we even use the word trustees for our GISD trustees, but we do.
Yeah, well, I don't trust them, and part of the reason I don't trust them is because they've proven time and again that they will just take the ostrich approach to everything, and they are so insecure in the way that they run these schools that they can't handle the smallest bit of criticism or correction.
Well, to admit you have a problem would automatically lead to additional questions, and I think they're just as scared of the additional questions that are going to come, because the logical next step is figuring out how this stuff got there to begin with, who approved it, and you work your way up the line to figure out where this problem started. So they can't admit they have a problem because there are logical next steps that come. So they're going to continue to just gaslight everybody and tell you, we don't have any of this stuff in our library, when we all know they actually do right now.
If you like the show, you like what we are doing, please go to thebluesharkshow.com and sign up for our member-only access at $4 a month.
This process started about 10 months ago, and when it kicked off, Dr. Glenn said, hey, we're going to find out how this got in there. We're going to put these controls in place. We're going to do all this stuff to make sure that it never happens again. And here we are 9 or 10 months later, and all they've done is create a new administrator position, create a BS committee that was stacked from the beginning, and then just sweep all the stuff under the rug and let a couple people, go on to greener pastures elsewhere. And it's like the problem is not solved, contrary to what the school board and the trustees are saying.
But you know what, Nate? How dare you even speak up? You may be a taxpayer, but you do not have kids in GISD, do you?
No.
Oh, you can't say a damn word then. You better not say a word, because how dare you not have kids in the school? Do you have kids in the school district?
Yeah.
Well, I did hear that, you know, Jeremy Glenn, Dr. Glenn, did apologize to Monica Brown for saying that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I
Good.
haven't seen the apology, but I heard he did. And that's good. But, you know, that branches off to your trustees. And, you know, here in a little bit, we'll talk more about what's going on with that. But, you know, here we have an email from Monica Brown that went to a ton of people. Now, once again, folks, this is public information. Social media, we use social media and public information. All of it's public. We don't dive into anybody's personal lives or personal whatever. This is out there for us to see as taxpayers on what your trustees, what your administration, and what your elected officials are doing. So Monica Brown wrote this email. And, of course, this has been going on a long time with Monica Brown and Karen Lowry. And yesterday, the book Gone, the name of the book is Gone, was reported missing. And instead of receiving a response to challenge I turned in, the district sent me an email saying the book is missing. Tammy Clark let me know via email the book was pulled because the weeding, quote, weeding process librarians are now doing. Well, that brought up another thing is, now, she wrote in the email, I'm concerned that records requests will be made by someone and they will post this publicly that a book was challenged and that it's missing. Please confirm that the book was in the library and you were aware via email and the district chose to use the informal process versus the challenge process. I am happy the book is pulled, but people are being told the book I challenged is not in the system. So are there games being played here?
There's absolutely games being played, and it's important to understand that this is not the only book that they've gotten this kind of response to. I'm on this email list, and so I see these emails from Monica Brown. And so this is at least, I'm going to guess, the 8th or 10th one I've seen saying, oh, well, that book's not in the library. We didn't do that review process, giving, you know, those of us on the outside of the system the distinct impression that we're being gaslit and being told those books aren't there when we know from their own card catalog system those books have been there. So why do they have to keep playing games? You know, dang it, if we're supposedly all working for the same reason, which is getting the porn out of the district's libraries, why the continued games?
Because they want to save face. It's that simple, man. These people, they want to save face above all else, and they will try to make the rest of the community think that Monica and Karen are some crazies going after problems that don't even exist. They say that all the time. The problem
it's too
isn't
late.
even real.
It's too late for that. It's too late to save face.
Yeah.
Y'all should have taken this by the horns a year ago. Then you get to save some face. When you drug your feet like this long and done it kicking and screaming and being disingenuous along the way, I'm sorry, you've lost the ability to save face. Take your lumps and let's move on down the road.
And this is what they're going to do. This is, like you said, almost the 10th one that this has happened to. And it's like their new MO. They get a challenge. They say, whoa, this is bad. And we'll have to admit that we had to take one out through this formal process. Instead of that, hey, librarian, hey, that book's gone, isn't it? Throw in the trash. Throw in the trash.
Yeah, it's
That's
gone.
what's
It's
happening.
missing.
Yeah,
Gone
it's
is missing. Gone is gone. You guys are talking about other books, and there was one that it looks like here that Paul Duncan turned in and, you know, did a summary on. And there were several books not listed, and they're playing that game of that challenge. And like you said, but why do you think they're doing this? I mean, we know why. You got 3 people coming up for re-election that have had this porn and smut and age-inappropriate stuff in the library. And you're right, Nate. If it comes back and they pull it out and say, oh, it was here, it was missing, we only had one book, blah, 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 whatever excuse they want, then when they run, they can say, look what a good job we did with this policy we put in place a year after we were notified.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they want. They want to save Barbara from the electoral consequences of the community finding out that she is school board president, presided over the board when we had porn in the libraries, we had the LGBT stuff, we had the BLM stuff. There have been so many issues. The recording of the meetings, there have been so many issues that we as a movement, and this program, played a part in that, have gotten stuff changed. And she's presided over a lot of it. And if it were up to her and we wouldn't have done anything, stuff would still be the same.
Well, unfortunately, unlike some of us on the right, the establishment on the school board, they understand the political consequences to admit what's happened, and so they're not going to give that opening for a challenger to come in and challenge them unless they're absolutely forced to do it. So we can expect the kicking and screaming and foot dragging just to continue, and the gaslighting to continue.
And I will say this though, at the start of this, Dr. Glenn showed a lot of promise. He came out and said, look, there's only 2 genders. These books, I'm sorry that they are in here. We're going to get them out right away. But he came out so hard, and he has since backpedaled so much that I have to wonder, who's he taking his marching orders from? Being the superintendent, he works for the school board. So I have
Don't
to think,
forget the attorneys. They have their stake in all this too. TEA, everybody.
I have to think that Barbara Townsend and the rest of that school board is, the one telling him, no, backpedal some of that. We don't want to face this head on. Just try to sweep it under the rug, because I have an election this November.
Well, they're facing it head on because they keep messing up. And Monica put out a new email, I say new, back at the end of July. And it was all due to one of the trustees that was going out on social media. And it's posted here in the email, and it's Courtney Gore, one of the trustees. And once again, this is her post on social media, nothing we made up. And it goes on to talk about, I have children in the school district. No one wants porn in the libraries, period. And I believe that most people don't want it in there, but there are some that actually do, because we've had comments on our website or on Facebook. And it goes on, and she keeps telling other people on social media, no pornography is in our libraries. Well, is that a factual statement?
No, a simple search, and you can pull up that satanic cartoon that we had to censor. There's your porn in the library. And that is just one issue. There's a whole, I didn't even think about this, but, people around the state need to look into their libraries and check out the Japanese cartoon section, because that's where a lot of this stuff is.
Well, we go on in the email, we say we, but Monica Brown, and it says, I am sorry. I think this is a huge mistake to say there is no pornography. Maybe I'm missing the definition. There is sexually explicit content in the libraries. There are books we have yet to explore that need to be explored. Please wait before you let students back into the libraries. Notifying a parent after the child checks out a book is too late. And then she goes on and talks about the dates and the certain things that they've done. And they talk about the book Alaska. And Courtney posted that Looking for Alaska is not in our libraries, but it was. And administration discarded it through the weeding process. Looking for Alaska is a book I brought to the attention of the trustees, now this is Monica, and Dr. Glenn earlier this year with no response. So that book was in the library and was taken out in that ever so weeding process. To say it is not in GISD misleads the people. To say it was in student libraries and is gone now will express the truth, so there is no confusion.
Yeah, and in that diatribe of Courtney's, she starts naming names as far as, different activists and stuff, and I doubt she got their permission, to do so, but she said, oh, and by the way, these 4 people who were spearheading this, cleaning up the books in our library thing, they were at that meeting, and they know that there's no porn in the library too. And it's like, I've seen the establishment do this before, and it's when they want to shut people up, and they'll start, pointing fingers at citizens, not elected officials. None of the people she named are elected or appointed officials. Those are private citizens who are frankly doing Courtney's job for her.
Well, my suggestion to some inquiring minds out there is there needs to be an open records request. And let's say 30 days before the first challenge was lodged by anybody in the community, there needs to be an open records request. What was the district catalog by school on 30 days before the first challenge was set? And that's going to give us a level playing field and be able to show who's playing the games and whose shenanigans is what's going on.
And if they didn't want to quantify the amount of good work that the activists around here are doing by challenging all these, I could see if they didn't release all the intricate details of what was taken out when and all that. But it's like they're going to such lengths to cover their own crap. It's like come on, guys. And you don't have to do that. Just be honest with people. Just say, this book was in there. Thank you guys for pointing this out. This is an area we can work on, and now let's move forward together. But instead, they want to just continue deceiving everybody.
Well, and I think I don't know if it could be deceiving is a big part. I think just lack of knowing what the heck's going on is another part, because you have all these books that have yet to been read, and you have like the stuff you found. And then you have the trustees saying, we have a policy in place.
And everything's fine.
So you have one end and the other, but you haven't done anything with all the hundreds of books that have been in there now. And then you're finding more. So to make a statement like there's no porn in the school libraries, you can't really make that statement.
Well, and it's funny, too, because she wasn't even at that meeting. I mean, I talked to people that were there. She wasn't in that meeting. It's like, what's the deal with commentating on meetings you're not a part of?
Well, and my understanding also is that in that meeting, representatives from the district asked the representatives from the community to not get on social media and make a circus out of this. And so it kind of confuses me why somebody who's a representative of the district has now come behind and made a circus out of this.
Maybe because they wanted to be the ones to set the narrative, and they just used their mouthpiece to do that.
Well, and then here we go back to what we spoke of a little bit earlier, when Dr. Glenn apologized to Monica Brown about that old word of that phrase, your kids. Are your kids in the school district, right?
How many kids do you have in the district?
That old phrase from the trustees and everything. Well, here it is on social media, same social media post, and Trustee Gore is talking to Alicia Miller and says, does it make sense to you that someone who doesn't have children in GISD schools would care more than myself, a parent who does? There you go again.
It's like
you
virtue
don't
signaling.
have kids in the school district, so shut your mouth, right?
Yeah.
We're taking care of the kids. Now, Courtney, I believe, doesn't want porn in the schools, but you can't say there's not porn in schools, because there is. So I think there's a miscommunication and a big problem there. Let's get the porn out. Let's all get on the same page. But I'm so tired of that phrase of you don't have kids in the school district. So I'll tell you what, Dr. Glenn and Courtney Gore, you could make a special compensation for everybody in GISD that don't have kids in public GISD to where they don't pay taxes. Why don't we do that? And then you can use that phrase all day long, because frankly, it's a phrase that you need to lose and stop saying, because the taxpayers flip the whole bill for everybody, whether your kids are there or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and, Courtney, you brought up what kind of issue that is. I think it's just her being stubborn. She's always been a little stubborn, so it's just a little personal growth and development maybe needs to happen.
Is absolutely virtue signaling, and to me, it actually exposes what Courtney's up to. She's virtue signaling, in my opinion, to the employees of the district and for the people who are rah-rah district, telling you, I'm fully on board with you, not the taxpayer who's actually footing the bill for all this stuff. So it's absolutely virtue signaling, and it kind of shows where she really is at.
Well, and it goes to that old deal. If you have an argument, you argue against the idea. If you don't, you argue against the person. So they can't say anything about the substance of this argument. Is there porn in the district?
Yep.
They've already lost that one, so their only move is to discredit the people shining a light on it.
And to me, you have the school board saying no porn. They don't want porn in schools. Well, some of them do. Some of them haven't said a word. And then you have the citizens trying to get it out. I just wish we could come to the consensus of let's work to get it out. I know they have a policy in place. It took them almost a year to do it. But in a year, this library should have been totally taken care of with porn and inappropriate, age-appropriate things taken out of the library. It shouldn't have taken this long.
Well, it's not a question on whether it's a problem. It's really not a question on whether it can be fixed and how to fix it. That's not really a question. So it's not really an issue of mechanics. It's a political issue. And so the establishment wing understands it's a political issue, and they're playing it politically. The conservatives need to understand that, and they need to play the political counter to that, which is you run darn good candidates for the school board, and you get out there and you work for them and you get them elected. That's how you're going to fix this problem, because this is a political problem. This is not a library catalog problem. This is not any other problem. It's a political issue. We're going to fix it at the voting booth, and that's going to be in November.
And if we get 3 good candidates to run and they emerge victorious, which I feel like there's plenty of ammo to go against the incumbents right now, if that happens, this can all be over 30 days after those 3 new trustees take office.
And that's what they're really afraid of, because if you get in the power position on the board and you fix the problem like that, what does that say about the last year and a half?
Oh, they've been spinning their
stalling.
wheels.
Yep, big time.
So they're afraid. They're afraid of what's coming in November too.
Well, and I have to wonder if the district, being the upper level administrators who frequently voice concerns against a lot of people in this community, if they don't feel like they're keeping the kids safe from the radical conservatives in the community that, don't want there to be satanic cartoon porn in the library. Are they on some type of crusade in their own mind?
I don't know, but we've got 3 trustees that are up for reelection, and this happened under their watch. They got brought to their attention. Can they see everything that's going on? No. But when they see it, they can act. Did all 3 of them act? No, they didn't. They didn't act quick enough. They didn't act in a right, morally manner. And they may be morally people and go to church and everything, but that's one side of you and your personality and your job or whatever. As a trustee, you failed. You failed. We need 3 new people. Each one that's up for election needs to go. Period.
Yeah, I agree 110%.
It doesn't mean that I don't like that person, but they failed at their job, and they failed at the most important aspect of it, to protect the kids. And they scream and yell all the time about the kids. You see photos of slapping them on the back and having a good time. You failed. We need 3 new people.